Hi guys, I'm Adam and welcome back to my series where I'm trying to make a role-playing game. Today is a big day because today we are doing a summary episode. I'm starting off with a time lapse where I'm now currently drawing the map of the Castle Everhollow, or more specifically, the entrance to Castle Everhollow, which is the mega dungeon that I'm making. And you might say, well, this looks more like an adventure rather than a role playing game. And you're right, I'm actually creating a role playing game out of what I think seems interesting in an adventure. So eventually, the rules will come out of this. And I've currently written something down, but it's all still in a concept phase, so that will probably come later. But today we are summarizing everything that has been talked about since episode 1. Now, I won't take absolutely everything into this episode because we've been discussing a lot of things and a lot of ideas and concepts, and most of them are not mature yet. So, what I'm doing here is to summarize and conclude some specific points in the game. And more specifically, I'm concluding how this entrance is going to be. So, as you will see forward, you will see that I'm writing down notes and numbers and so on that will specifically be what this entrance is going to be. So now let's watch the rest of this small time lapse, and I'll get back to you when I'm done with room number 1. Okay, guys, this is room number 1, which is the gatehouse into this entrance. The gatehouse itself is blocked with a portcullis, which is down. And the players are supposed now to open up the portcullis. That is the goal of room 1. Firstly, they will have to climb across to the top, which they will do in using this tree here. That will firstly teach them about the rolling ability, teach them about rolling for certain checks, and the assist action. I set the difficulty to 4 here, just to have a specific number, but I'll probably change that. I wrote it in pencil, so I can easily change that later. But I want to have an assist action into all of this so that the players will learn to cooperate in order to get across here. And therefore I will set this difficulty to be slightly higher, and that the players that have good strength or good dexterity or good climbing skills will be able to deal with this very easily, but that others that don't will need assistance, and that an assist action is needed. Also, I want them to use a supply, which I wrote with a big capital S here. And they can use this supply mechanic to decrease the difficulty further, which I haven't gone fully into yet, but that is I'll do that sometime later. Then from this climbing up the portcullis, they will get to the roof up here at 1B, which will be a zombie. Here they will deal with an impaled zombie, which is not threatening unless they come close, which will teach them about how to probably teach them that they're weak to fire and that they're not weak to physical damage. They're actually resilient to physical damage, and therefore also other zombie stats, which it won't be very specific, but it will be a very descriptive thing, saying, oh yes, they're weak to fire, and so you light the zombie on fire, for instance, then the zombie dies, you win. While if you try to cut it or smash it with a hammer or something, then you will just describe the zombie is hit and it seems unaffected by your attack. Something simple. Doesn't need a roll, doesn't need anything concrete, it just needs a description. And then open up the portcullis, which is also just a description. You walk up to the winch here and you open up the portcullis. That's it. So that is room number 1. So let's continue on to room number 2.
One thing I noticed as I was drawing this map here is that I drew this ramp really steep, and that it's very impractical for a castle like this. You wouldn't be able to transport goods in large carts up such a steep ramp, or it would be very impractical at least. But I'm drawing it like this because, well, I can fit it on the page. In real life, it would probably be a lot longer and a lot less steep. And I'll maybe revisit the drawing at some point to correct this. I also noticed that I drew the inner battlements very steep and following along the ramp, which is also probably very atypical, and that the wall itself would rather be straight out and have a constant height. But the problem with drawing the battlements at a constant height there would be that, well, it would obscure away the things that are behind it, like the portal into room 3. So yeah, I'll just keep it like this until I draw a top view thing, and yeah, then I'll correct it then.
So we're back at room 2, the Zwinger, as it's called,
And this is where the players will see this entrance for the first time. The entrance itself is closed. It is, I can say here, pure stone. And the players will see this and can't do anything with it. They also see the tiny portals here scattered around, which they don't know how to utilize. They can look through them and there will be open space, and well, they can't physically do things with it, and these are scattered. Now in room 2A, which is this tower here, there is a dial that the players can turn, and turning it will shift the tiny portals here to they will teach the players about portals and that they are movable, and with a knowledge roll of difficulty 6, it will focus the portals to 2D, which is this space here. A failed roll will advance time by 2 intervals. I'm not quite sure how the time mechanic will function specifically in this game, but I know it will be some sort of interval-based system, so that each action you do will advance time with a certain amount of intervals, and that when there has accumulated a specific amount of intervals, then something happens. Not quite sure yet, but I still know that there will be time intervals. Now at 2B, there is another dial which is knocked over, and fixing it and turning it will move the portals from 2D to 2C here, if both the dial at 2A and 2B are turned correctly. If only the one in 2B is turned, then it will still go to 2D, and the same mechanic applies here, that a knowledge roll of difficulty 6 here will turn the dials, and failure will also advance time. Now if I just say the door here is pure stone and it's on page 105, and the dial is at page 104. There. Okay, we're getting close. We're getting close. Let's go on with room number 3.
I'm making this adventure for my own role-playing game, but there's nothing wrong if you want to adapt this adventure onto your own role-playing game and take inspiration from it. I'd be glad even, and if you could even give me some feedback if something was good or something was bad and so on, that would just be fun for me to read. So feel free to do whatever you like. Please don't sell it, but otherwise, yeah, credit me or something. It would be fun.
Room 3 is here. So this is room 3, which is in the, I'll write Twilight in with my pencil. because I don't want it to be called Twilight. In the comments, write something else. Write a better name than me with Twilight Realm. So, room 3 is the trap room, which you enter if you enter room 2D. You will enter here and you will exit 2D and enter 3A. 3B is a winch, which will activate and trap 3C, dealing 4 damage of fire. So this is the winch here in the corner, and activating that or using that winch will activate trap 3C, which are fire charges or fire bombs in some way that are above the players here. A zombie is on the floor, which is burnt. It's lying on the floor there. A difficulty 5 senses roll will notice the trap, and you can climb up to 3C and get 3 fire bombs. Now, all of these numbers are of course temporary, but it's fun to have a specific number to work with. Now, finally, we will work with room 4.
One thing that I think was interesting with the structure that I have here is that room 3 can actually be overlooked. The positive thing with this is that the players might not be harmed by the trap at all. The negative side is that if they do open up room 3 and do understand that this is a trap, they can utilize the fire bombs that are in the trap to deal with room number 4.
So, room 4, the entrance hall, which is situated inside of here in the Twilight Realm. You enter 2C and you exit at 4A. And here you will encounter 5 zombies and you will have to deal with them. And that is basically room 4. Then when you've entered room 4, you can enter into here, which is room 5. And that is the open entrance opened into the castle grounds. So yes, this is the final form, the entrance to Castle Everhollow. Here you have the castle where you walk into room 1, deal with room 1, go to room 2, deal with everything here. You could go to room 3, but if you're smart, you will enter straight into room 4. And then when you've dealt with room 4, you enter room 5 over here, which will open up into the castle itself. So yeah, that is the summary episode. And I really liked this format. It takes a lot more time, so I won't do this every time. But it's a very fun way of figuring out or summarizing everything that I've planned so far. So yes, hope you like it, and goodbye.